Everyone knows that you can find almost anything on the internet, but sometimes there are things that you definitely wouldn't want to see in the middle of the night. Some of them are nothing special, while the backstories of others can be truly disturbing. Were they really meant for public viewing? Today, I'll not only show you such images, but also try to answer the question of what really lies behind them. And it's worth starting with the fact that this is a truly well-known image. Wherever you see it, there will definitely be a few people in the comments who have already stumbled upon it for the 20th time, yet it still continues to scare them. In the foreground, we see two Japanese girls looking out of the window of an apartment building. One of them smiles friendly, while the other has an expression on her face as if she knows what you were doing last Tuesday. Behind her stands a completely black silhouette of a woman, with the only part of her body standing out: her unnerving eyes. I think no one will argue that this is computer graphics. At other times, I wouldn't have bothered much with searching for its origin, but this particular case somehow interested me, and as it turned out, not in vain, because I really found something interesting even though it was quite difficult. First of all, we need to answer two questions. Who posted this image on the internet, and where was it taken from? Reverse image search always turned out to be the main assistant in this matter, and the first mention of this photo with the ghost of a woman led me to a post on Tumblr dating back to June 2018. As you can see, its author didn't even bother to write anything, so we have practically nothing, except for one thing, which we'll return to a bit later. Then, I decided to try again, but this time I used a search engine from Microsoft, which led me to a Reddit post published in the same year. Here we can see the name of the image for the first time, and it's quite an important detail. Now we already have two clues, but they won't give us anything if we don't answer the second question: where did this image come from? And it turned out to be a frame from a Japanese horror movie that many people know as 13 Real Asian Horror Stories, because that's how you can find it on YouTube. The only problem is that this is not its actual title. I spent several days in continuous search for the original, explored the oldest and strangest corners of the internet, looked sadly at the rain outside my window, and in short, I came up with nothing. In the comments under each video with episodes from the movie or full-fledged reviews, you can always find someone claiming that this is not the original title, the real one was somehow different, and you should look for it in another castle. I gathered several plausible options, and personally, I'm betting on the third one, although I couldn't check it for sure, so it really could be any of them. In short, all we know about this image is that it's from some old and obscure Japanese horror movie consisting of a dozen short episodes. With that in mind, let's go back to our first question and finally try to figure out who actually first published it. Remember how I mentioned that there was something else important here? Well, it was a link to the Letterboxd profile of the author of this page, who turned out to be a true movie fan. And most of the films this person has watched fall under the category of Japanese horror films. It's hard to say if that specific film is among all these countless movies, but I'm completely sure that it's right here. It sounds like someone watched an obscure horror movie, stumbled upon an interesting frame, added some spooky eyes, and posted it on their Tumblr page, from where it was spread all over the internet. That would be a very convincing theory, except for one detail. Remember how we also have a post on Reddit among our sources? It was not only published in the same year, but it also stands out because of its title, Mother. You might not know this yet, but that word perfectly describes the episode from our movie, as the ghost of the woman is the mother of the girl with a thoughtful face. Only someone who watched this movie 6 years ago could have titled their post like that. On the other hand, who else but a true movie fan would be the first to find this frame among countless obscure Japanese horror films? Turns out I'm not much of a detective. We not only couldn't figure out the title of the original movie, but we also couldn't find the person who first published this image. Could it be the same person? If you have any ideas, feel free to share them in the comments. I think everyone would find them interesting to read. Anyway, let's move on to the next disturbing photo. You probably think that this supposedly cursed photo actually shows Mickey Mouse, but what if I tell you that it's not the case? It's funny, and I somehow never paid attention to this before, but the original Mickey walks around exclusively shirtless. I don't know whom he's trying to impress with this, but it's not that important. What truly matters is that from the darkness of this eerie basement, Minnie Mouse is the one who is staring at us. You can guess this from the remnants of her famous red polka-dotted dress. The first mention of this photo, dating back to November 25, 2017, can be found in the comments under a rather funny Twitter post highlighting the personal lives of Disney characters, and as usual, there are no explanations. We could have already finished searching for its origin if I hadn't accidentally stumbled upon a post on Reddit published a whole 16 days earlier than the one on Twitter. And there are no additional details, except that the user who shared the photo registered on the site just a few months before this. Could be a simple coincidence, though. But the story of this photo doesn't end there, because it has a second version that is even more mysterious than the original, and I found this one completely by accident, also on Reddit. This picture shows Minnie Mouse in the same basement, but the camera angle is entirely different. The person who posted it unsuccessfully tried to find answers to the same questions we are, but unfortunately, no one helped him, so we're still at a dead end when it comes to solving this mystery. However, we still have something. A Twitter user claims to know the woman who once dated the owner of the creepy costume. A YouTuber named Gubby managed to contact that woman, and she did confirm the story but didn't reveal any further details. As a result, the location and date of the photo remain a mystery. It's up to you to believe her or not, but even if it's true, which it probably is, it gives us almost nothing. Many people believe that these photos were inspired by one of the many creepy stories about Disney and its dark side, particularly the creepypasta Abandoned by Disney. While this may be true, I believe it's more likely that someone simply used an old costume in a creepy basement they had access to and ended up with these memorable photos. They probably did it without any specific reason, just a good opportunity to have some fun. And those were the few things that are definitely known about Mickey Mouse's basement, but who knows what else we'll find in the future. In any case, I'll ask you to subscribe to my channel and leave a comment under this video if you enjoyed it. Now let's move on to the next cursed image. And since we're talking about the fame of certain images, this one is so well known that it's easier to count the people who have never seen it. We'll get back to explaining what is actually photographed here, but for now, you just need to know that this creature is linked to an old and creepy story known as the Russian sleep experiment. It tells about scientific sleep deprivation experiments conducted in the late 1940s somewhere in the Soviet Union. In short, 5 enemies of the state, or volunteers in Soviet language, were locked in a small research chamber filled with a special gas that would prevent them from falling asleep. The subjects were promised that if they could last for 30 days, they would be released. However, the experiment was only planned for 15 days, so these people were doomed from the start. The experiment was quite successful for a while, but then the subjects gradually went insane and began doing things in their chamber that YouTube would likely not approve of. Let's just say they kept themselves busy, and not everyone survived. Only one scientist lived through all these events, as well as a few photos, including one with our creepy creature sitting in a strange pose. And this is exactly one of those subjects who managed to be retrieved from the research chamber and then more or less brought back to human form. Well, at least he looks pretty cheerful, doesn't he? Anyway, right now we need to answer 2 questions. What lies behind this photo, and where did the story of this horrifying experiment first appear? Well, it turns out to be quite straightforward. The story was published on August 8, 2009, on the personal blog of a programmer whose brother emailed him the text. It's believed that both of them remain unaware of the original author, so it could be either of them or someone entirely unrelated. Whoever it was, the Russian sleep experiment eventually found its way to the Creepypasta wiki, where it quickly became extremely popular and spread across the internet. It's funny that this text has gone through a whole bunch of different edits, and some of them not only correct errors or minor flaws, but also remove or add new elements of the story that weren't there before. Some people say that the original had a lot of rather silly moments, which were eventually removed. I believe it's entirely possible, although it doesn't really matter. Now, of course, you'll ask who is actually in this picture. And there's no mystery here. It's a creepy Halloween doll named Spasm, which you can still buy online and place somewhere at home. Would you like one? And if any of you still have doubts about whether this whole story is true or not, the answer is clear. It's completely made up. This is very noticeable if you read the text carefully and don't miss its plot and logic holes. Let me know in the comments if you've already done this and noticed such moments, but let's not dwell on this and move on to our next disturbing photo. This image shows a creature with an unnatural head shape, long black hair, and a distinctive gaze, which occurs only in people who have seen rental prices. Even though this photo from 2023 is the newest in our selection today, I had quite serious difficulties understanding it. But first things first. First of all, I tried to use the reverse image search again, but this time it completely failed me. And no wonder, because it turns out that I shouldn't have been looking for a specific photo, but for an entire video called The Microsoft Gatesface Incident that was posted on TikTok. I've already watched it, and now I suggest you do the same. Of course, if you're ready to take the risk. Well, it's not as impressive as you thought, right? Maybe it's because this is not really the original. It seems like the real video featuring this creature was deleted by its creator. At least it's no longer available on his channel or anywhere else for that matter. There are different versions of this incident floating around the internet, but they are all of rather poor quality and some even differ from each other in important details, so everything here is a bit confusing. What if I told you that this video is not the first place where this supposedly cursed image appeared? After some pretty extensive searching, its source was found on the same TikTok from the user Mormon0969, and the answer turned out to be far from pleasant. The thing is that this user specializes in creating short videos and creepy images generated using artificial intelligence, and Gatesface was no exception. Its original version can also be found among all of these very similar creatures. For some, this turned out to be a real disappointment, as it was such an interesting and mysterious story that could have led to the dark depths of the internet or new secrets. In the end, however, everything was achieved using one rather silly computer command. And while it's easy to understand the feelings of people disappointed that it wasn't the cursed Bill Gates, personally, I think it's not all that bad. At least we got another creepy internet legend, even if it's artificial in some sense. It would be great if you could share your thoughts in the comments, and while you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any new videos, we move on to the final cursed image for today. And if you, just like me, don't know who is pictured in this photo, then it's Barney from the popular 90s children's TV series Barney and Friends. The purple anthropomorphic dinosaur told interesting stories, sang funny songs, and tried to teach children how to behave in the world around them. However, thanks to the rather mediocre quality of the costumes, Barney's kindness and friendliness are the last things any sane person who encounters him would think about. And although you can find a really large number of, let's say, quite strange photos of this dinosaur on the internet, today I'd like to tell you about just one of them. The one that we already saw at the very beginning. And actually, it's quite an interesting story. The photo of our plush dinosaur was posted on Reddit on June 14, 2016, with a single caption, "A creepy photo of my friend when he was young." As you've probably already guessed, the authors of such posts love to save words, so as usual, it was up to outsiders to figure out what was going on. And although he wrote that his friend would soon be back to his home and tell a bit more about this story, it never happened. They both just vanished without a trace for 8 years. One could speculate endlessly about the true origin of this photo if, in March 2024, on the YouTube channel Chilling Scares, the person depicted in the photo hadn't accidentally appeared in the comments under the video about it. He explained that the photo was taken at a flea market in central New Jersey when he was about 4 years old. Although his father is on the left side of the picture, none of the family members could recall how a person in a purple dinosaur costume ended up in it. Many years later, the commenter found this photo in his album and sent it to his friend, who then posted it on Reddit. As proof, he provided a few more photos from the same album, so it's quite believable, which means the case is solved. Or is it? You might ask, but is this really just an ordinary photo? How can Barney have such big black eyes? And there's no mystery in this because those aren't the dinosaur's eyes, they're just his nostrils. As usual, the angle of the shot is to blame, so don't worry, no cursed humanoid dinosaur will come to take you away. In any case, this was the last disturbing image for today. I want to give a special thanks to everyone who watched this video to the end, and I'll ask you once again to leave a comment and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this kind of content. And if that wasn't enough, I highly recommend checking out other videos on the channel. See you next time.